Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are now going to go ahead and start Act 1, Scenes 1 and 2 of The Taming of the Shrew. Now, at the beginning of this play, we are introduced to Lucentio and Tranio. Lucentio is a wealthy man's son, and he is in Padua to study. However, his good friend and servant, Tranio, reminds him to make sure that he is studying other things that he really wants to be studying. In other words, make sure you're still studying the girls around here. It doesn't take long for Lucentio to see a girl. He sees Caterina and Bianca, and they are with their father, Baptista. And they are both being followed around by two other men. And these men are Gremio, here you will see. And you have Gremio and you have Hortensio. Now, here's what's happening with Gremio and Hortensio. Both of these men want to marry Bianca. However, Bianca's father, Baptista, says that he will not allow for either of these men to marry his younger daughter, Bianca, until he has a husband for his older daughter, Caterina. This, of course, makes Caterina very upset, not because she doesn't want to get married, but because she feels like her father is offering her out, saying, hey, if one of you will, take one for the team, the other can have Bianca as a wife. So he is treating Bianca more as a prize and treating Caterina more as a burden. So she gets, of course, very, very angry about this entire thing. And then at the very end of this exchange, Baptista gets kind of tired of having these men constantly following Bianca around. So he makes a decision to more or less mew her up. In other words, he's going to just kind of keep her at home, right? To keep these men from constantly following her around and harassing her and harassing him, to let him, approve of the marriage. Anyway, so this is where things get kind of interesting. So Lucentio hears this entire exchange, and he makes a decision that he really does want to get to be close to Bianca, but that's not going to happen while her father's keeping her locked up. So he makes the decision to pretend to be a school teacher so that he can get close to Bianca. Now, you also have Gremio and Hortensio, and they have this conversation here where they make a decision to work together to help Caterina find a husband. So he says right here, marry, sir, to get a husband for her sister. A husband, a devil. I say a husband, I say a devil. Thus thinkest thou, Hortensio, though her father be very rich, any man is so a fool to be married to hell. Tush, Gremio, though it pass your patience and mine to endure her loud alarums. Why, man, there must be good fellows in the world. A man can light on them that would take her with all her faults and money enough. So basically, these two men have said, are saying, you know what? This woman's very wealthy. Her father's got a lot of money. Whoever marries her is going to inherit a lot of wealth. And so maybe there is a man who's hard up enough where he would be willing to marry her. And he also says, they also are stating here that, even though we can't stand the girl, there might be somebody who actually would be willing to put up with her if it means that they can have her father's money. Okay, so that's what they're looking for, is a man who is basically hard up enough that he's going to be willing to marry Caterina in spite of her faults in order for him to inherit her wealth, which is, of course, not a very flattering thing to say about Caterina. So as this continues on, we now have Lucentio, who has decided that he is going to pretend to be a school teacher, and his servant Tranio is going to pretend to be him so that he can entertain the kinsmen and things like that are supposed to come to the house, and also so that he can make the proposal to Baptista to marry Bianca. Anyway, so that's kind of where this act ends. They do have to convince the other servant, Biondello, to kind of go along with it by lying to him and telling him that Lucentio is in danger, and so he needs to go along with this lie. And of course, he does, to protect his master. In the next scene, we meet Petruchio, and Petruchio is a very interesting character. Petruchio has also just arrived in Verona to see his good friend Hortensio. And if you remember, Hortensio is one of the men who wants to marry Bianca and is actively looking for a husband for Bianca. So what happens here is that Hortensio arrives, or not Hortensio, Petruchio arrives, sees his friend Hortensio, and tells his friend Hortensio that he is there in Padua to find a wife. He says, Petruchio, since we stepped this far in, I can continue with what I preached in jest. I can tell Petruchio, help thee to wife. Okay, so what is happening here is he is sorry, I'm going to go up here a little bit. So we have a Petruchio tells him that his father Antonio is deceased. And I have thus myself in this maze, happily to wive and thrive as best I may. Crowns in my purse, I have goods at home, and so am come abroad to see the world. So again, Petruchio's father has just died, and he realizes, I need to get married. Okay, he realizes that he needs to get married. So he is looking for a wife who is rich enough to allow him to continue to live in the life of luxury that he prefers to live in. So he is looking for a wealthy wife. Now, this sounds absolutely terrible, but this was actually a very common thing where a wealthy man and a wealthy woman would purposely seek out each other in order to combine their wealth, okay, for not only themselves, but also for their children and children's children and so on. So anyway, that is the reason why he is in Padua, is to find a very wealthy wife. And this is when Hortensio says, Petruchio, shall then I come roundly to thee and wish thee to a shrewd and ill-favored wife? Thus thank me for a little above my counsel, and yet I'll promise thee that she shall be rich and very rich, but thou art too much my friend, and I'll not wish thee to her. So basically he says, I actually do know of a woman who is rich enough that, she would be a good wife for you. However, because of her behavior, I don't know that I could do this to you. It's like, man, I love you too much. Can't do this to you. I'm not going to introduce you to a woman who I think will make you miserable, even though she is very rich. It is then that Petruchio says that he tells him that, he doesn't care, basically. He says that he doesn't care. He says that even if she didn't have a tooth in her head, if she were as ugly as can be, or she were as shrewd as can be, he wouldn't care as long as she is rich. Okay, and this is where he says it. He says that, he doesn't care if she's as foul as Florentus's love. He doesn't care if she is as shrewd as Xanthippe. He doesn't care, as long as she is rich. And his servant says, you're hearing what he's saying. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if this woman is completely ugly and completely unpleasant, as long as she has money. So they make the plan that Petruchio is going to propose to Catherine, which will allow for Hortensio to be able to marry Bianca. Now, Hortensio has the same idea that Lucentio has, where he's like, here's what we're going to do, Petruchio. You're going to go to Baptista, and you are going to present me as a school teacher so that I can have a chance to get close to Bianca without her father knowing about it. And while we're there, you are going to propose marriage to Caterina. And once Caterina is married, then I will be able to marry Bianca. So this is the plan. So we now have two suitors who are going to go into Baptista's house pretending to be school teachers so that they can get closer to Bianca. And Petruchio is going to propose marriage to Caterina for no other reason than the fact that she is very, very rich. And he thinks, you know what? That's all I care about. I can handle this. So we will see what happens in the next act with this. And so join me in the video for Act 2, and we'll go over kind of how this whole thing plays out. Hope to see you there. Bye.